Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Saturday edition of the Live Ones. And, folks, once again, look at this freaking card over here. Saturdays in the fall. Just some of the most insane handicapping spots imaginable. 53 college football games, 12 NHL games, 6 NBA games, and UFC 268. Once again, got up really, really early this morning to cap all of this. And as of this recording, once again, it's going to be a miracle if I can get this out in enough time for the noon games for you to watch the whole thing and get your plays in. But we're going to do the best that we can. Just a quick recap of last night. We had a great clean sweep, perfect 3-0. That Utah-Stanford game was not even close. Utah rolled over them just like I thought they would. The Knicks absolutely, completely demolished the Bucks. That game went just like I thought it would. It was a battle of the benches. The Bucks led early. They were up at halftime, and the Knicks just came back and absolutely destroyed them as the Bucks ran out of gas. Probably should have sprinkled some action on the Knicks money line straight up there for the value there, but just we weren't all that confident. We were just confident in the cover, and it worked out for us. We got a lot to go over today, so let's get right to it. And we're going to start with one of the earliest games on tap for today, 11:30, Army at Air Force. And folks, anytime that you see just a game between two service academies, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a whole lot of running. You're going to get a whole lot of triple option. Both offenses excel at it. It's all they do. It's all they defend against. And really, you're expecting a low total. I mean, this is right now sitting at Air Force is a minus 2.5 point favorite. The total is 37.5. That's probably right around where the total should be. So these are two very, very similar schools. They're the top two rushing attacks in the nation. Air Force is leading the nation in rushing yards per game at 318, and Army is second at 312. You know exactly what you're going to get in this game. You're going to get a lot of running that chews up a whole lot of clock. So you're looking for you're looking for where the matchup edges are. And for me, that's on Army's defense. They've been just extremely full of holes. This is not your typical Army defense. They're 79th in the nation in scoring defense, allowing 27.7 points per game, whereas Air Force is just fantastic. They're giving up only 16 points per game. Air Force is not going to have any kind of trouble putting up points against Army. Remember, Army had that just absolute embarrassment a couple of weeks ago against Wake Forest, where Wake put up a 70 spot on them. Obviously, Air Force is not an offense anywhere near the caliber of Wake Forest, not nearly as explosive, but I don't think they're going to have any problem putting points up today. I would make Air Force, honestly, about a touchdown favorite, and you're giving me them at under a field goal here. I'm absolutely jumping on that side. Give me Air Force minus 2.5. So then the next game that we're going to look at is SMU and Memphis, and SMU is a 5-point favorite. Why is this line here? Why? Because SMU lost to Houston? Okay. But Memphis is bad, just really bad. They're a trash team. They have a decent quarterback in Seth Hennigan, and that's about it. And Hennigan is questionable after a hand injury last week in the UCF game, and we saw what that team was able to do without him on the field. Next to nothing. Peter Parrish threw 3 picks and had a fumble on top of it. Memphis scored 7 points against a subpar UCF defense. SMU in that killer spread offense is going to roll all over the Tigers defense, who is 98th against the pass, 75th against the run, 91st in points allowed. There's not a single aspect of defense they do well. It's not like where you might see a typical college team, look really good against the run or really good against the pass, but really bad against the other. It's because, other teams exploit the area that they're weak at. This is not that. Memphis is just bad against the pass and bad against the run. SMU's secondary is also very bad against the pass. They may as well not even be there when they're facing a decent quarterback. They're 111th in the nation. That is why I think the line is less than a touchdown here. But even if Hennigan plays, he's certainly not likely to be 100%. I'd play this line up to 6.5, even with Hennigan in there. If it's Parrish, I'd take it on another touchdown on top of that. Absolutely give me SMU minus 5 here. I'm seeing minus 4.5. In a couple of spots, but that's, again, we're coming up to game time, and it's still not sure whether Hennigan is going to play at quarterback for Memphis. But you have to grab it ASAP, though, because as soon as Hennigan is ruled out, that line is going to jump immediately to about minus 10.5, minus 11, maybe, easily. So grab SMU, minus 5 points. That's the play. All right, so then moving on to Liberty at Ole Miss, and this is the Hugh Freeze Bowl here, folks. And this is a really, really interesting matchup of offensive powerhouses here in Ole Miss and Liberty. Liberty is 32nd in the nation in total yards, but they are incredibly efficient. They're 16th in the nation in points scored, 37.4 points per game. They're also incredibly good at preventing turnovers. Ole Miss is Ole Miss. It's a Lane Kiffin offense. Fifth in the country, 531 yards of offense a game. Most of that is on the ground, 249 yards rushing. They're third in the nation in rushing. 12th in the nation in points scored, 39 points per game. These are just these are two teams that are just absolute mammoths on offense. So where's the intangible? It's Liberty's defense. Liberty has some incredible studs up front. They're 10th in the country in total yards allowed. They're 8th in the country in pass yards allowed. And they're 13th in the country in points scored allowed. They're only allowing 17 points a game. So, I mean, if you've got two really, really good offenses, Ole Miss Lane Kiffin doesn't even bother playing defense. I mean, their defense is absolute garbage. It may as well not even be there. And Liberty's defense is just incredibly, incredibly talented on top of it. This is not the Liberty team of last year. I mean, they're 7-2. They are really, really impressive. They're 6-3 against the spread. They're a little bit. They're taking a step down a little bit from last year, but they still have what it takes to hang with Ole Miss and keep it close, I think. Especially considering Ole Miss just doesn't even give a thought to its defense. So you're giving me here Liberty as a 9.5 point road underdog. I'm absolutely going to take that. Give me Liberty plus 9.5 today. I think Ole Miss has what it takes to win this, but I don't think they're going to be able to stop Liberty too much. And I honestly think Liberty's going to give them all they can handle on defense. I think they're going to keep it close. So yeah, Liberty plus 9.5 points. That's what I'm looking at today. So then moving on to Missouri and Georgia. And this is a really, really interesting spot. Georgia, the number one team in the country, obviously. They are 40.5 point favorites against Mizzou here. And they probably deserve to be in some aspect in that they have one of the absolute best defensive units I've seen in college football in the past decade. Honestly, but that's their offense is really not anything to write home about. They're 55th in the nation in total yardage. They are 75th in the nation in pass yardage. This is not a quarterback in Georgia who's going to light the world on fire. So my concern is the total here is 59.5 points. That is just way, way, way too many in any game involving Georgia, and I don't care who the other team is, because I don't know that Georgia is going to be putting up a 50 spot on Mizzou here. Look, Missouri is an incredibly efficient offense for the offense that it gets. It does manage to get itself a lot of points. It's 29th in the nation in points scored. But really, just realistically, how many chances are they going to get to score against this just mammoth Georgia defense? I don't really see it being very much. Georgia is second in the country in yards per game allowed through the air at just, at 150 yards per game through the air. They only have 3 passing touchdowns allowed this entire season. I mean, that's just incredible, especially against when you're stacking up against a Mizzou offense that's very pass heavy. They're going to completely shut Mizzou down. I don't like the spread here. I don't like the 40.5 points. Again, I just don't. I don't know what Georgia's going to do on offense, but I like the under of 59.5 points here. I think that is just way, way, way too many points. Georgia's not going to let up a whole lot. And I just don't see Georgia scoring like 50, 52, 55 points against Missouri. So, yeah, I'm jumping all over this under here. Under Georgia, Missouri, under 59.5 points. So moving on to Michigan State and Purdue. And let me tell you, there is so much sharp money on Purdue in this spot here. The game is at Purdue. It's at Ross-Ade Stadium. And people just seem to think that Michigan State had that big emotional come-from-behind win against Purdue. Against Michigan last week. They're sitting at number 3. They're sitting pretty in the college football playoff picture right now, as long as they run the tables. I think that they are a good solid lock for one of the top 2 spots. Honestly, that game against Ohio State in a couple of weeks suddenly became really, really big. Honestly, where everybody is coming down on this and where everybody is making Purdue such a close play here comes from the 2 things. One thing, Purdue beat Iowa when Iowa was the number 2 team in the country, and they not only beat them, but they absolutely dominated them. Purdue has a great passing game. They are 16th in the country with 307 yards of passing per game. And if Michigan State has a weakness on defense, it's absolutely against the pass. They're close to dead last in the country in passing yards allowed. When they're up against any kind of a good quarterback, they get absolutely torched through the air. Now, they find ways to win. Obviously, they just have this wonderful, balanced offense with, for my money, the best running back in the country in Kenneth Walker III. But Purdue, I mean, I don't know. They're probably, I would say, like middle of the road in terms of a rushing defense, and I just think it's certainly never a letdown spot for Michigan State to come off of the Michigan game. In the past 10 years, coming off of the Michigan game the week after, Michigan State is 7-3. So it's not like they get that big victory over Michigan and then all of a sudden the next week is they're kind of phoning it in. Michigan State knows what the situation is. They're 8-0. They're sitting in the college football playoff. They don't have any kind of room for error ahead of that Ohio State game. They can't be in a one-game hole battling Ohio State for the Big Ten East championship. This is their spot, and they're going to absolutely keep their foot on the gas pedal here. So give me Michigan State minus 2.5 points today. I think this is a good, solid road favorite spot here. I think Michigan State just absolutely pounds Purdue into oblivion today. All right, so then what do we have next? We have NC State against Florida State. This line, you're going to have to explain this line to me. I mean, it's sitting right now at NC State is a 2.5 point road favorite against Florida State. Total is 55.5. I don't get it. I mean, we know what Florida State is. And yes, NC State had that bad upset loss against Miami, but man, they rebounded really, really well last week. I mean, quarterback Devin Leary had his absolute best performance of the season, tossed 4 touchdown passes, threw for 317 yards, and that defense held Malik Cunningham, who's the prototypical dual threat quarterback for Louisville, to just 4 yards per carry on the ground and bottled him up so that he could only complete about 39% of his passes. This NC State secondary is just phenomenal at taking reads away from the quarterback. Florida State is going to have to, if they want to have any kind of a success today, they're going to have to run the ball. And NC State's defense is just phenomenal. They're 16th in the country against the run, allowing only 108 running yards per game. NC State is just a much, much, much better team than Florida State at virtually every single aspect of the game. And I know Florida State is Florida State. I mean, we've talked about how disappointing that they've been all year. And, I mean, they were facing a banged-up Clemson team last week with every chance in the world to beat them. And once again, they just crapped the bed on the national stage. This is a really, really bad time for the Florida State football program. I'm not going to lie to you. I've got to jump on NC State here. There's so much great value in this line. With how good NC State's defense is and just how good it is at bottling up the few things that Florida State does well. So give me NC State here, minus 2.5. Okay, so then the final college football play that I'm looking at today might be the single most boring game that you're going to watch all year. Between Iowa and Northwestern. I mean, there's Big Ten West football, and then there's Big Ten West football. This is going to exceed that today. Iowa's offense, 124th in the nation in total yards, 85th in the nation in points scored. This is a one-dimensional team. This is a team that is based entirely around its defense. And Northwestern's offense is absolutely nothing without Cam Porter. Northwestern's offense is 108th in total yards, 108th in passing yards, 78th in the country in rushing yards, 119th in points scored. They score about 19 points per game, and that's when they're facing, defenses that aren't Iowa. I think Iowa absolutely holds this team to single digits today, and I think Iowa doesn't get a whole lot done on offense themselves because they never get a whole lot done on offense themselves. The total for this game is 40.5 points, and I cannot believe it's that high. I don't think this total is getting anywhere near 40.5. Iowa is a much, much, much better team than Northwestern. They should win this game going away. I think Northwestern struggles to hit double digits in terms of points today, and Iowa's going to get its 24 points and then deep freeze it on defense, and they're going to walk away happy with that. So give me the under 40.5 points today. This is just one of those games where you bet the under, come back 3 hours later, and you've won money. Don't bother watching this game. It's going to be terrible unless you're a defensive football fanatic. So yeah, there we go. All right, so that does it for college football. Now let's move over to the other things happening today in the NBA. Taking a look at the Houston Rockets and the Denver Nuggets. And this Denver's defense has just been absolutely phenomenal. They are second in the league in points per game allowed, just a shade under 100 points allowed per game. Their three-point defense has been just phenomenal. I mean, they are fantastic at protecting the arc. Their opponents are shooting just shy of 33% from three. Their rebounding defensively is fifth in the league. I mean, Denver is a very, very good team, much better than that 4-4 record. Now they do have some problems on offense. Obviously, they do have some problems scoring. Right now, we're taking a look at their injury report, and obviously, it's the same as it's been. Vlatko Kankar is out indefinitely with his hip injury, and obviously Jamal Murray has been out since the beginning of the season. The unders have just absolutely been killing it in the NBA this year, and it's owing obviously all to the rule changes. I think with the fouls, how just offensive players are not allowed to kind of basically lean in and cheat fouls out of their defenders, and the defenders are allowed to be a whole lot more physical. I think it's limiting points all over, and Houston's offense. Houston's offense facing Denver's defense here in this spot. That's a problem. Houston is 22nd in the NBA with only 104 points scored per game. Their free throw shooting is abysmal. They're just shooting about a little over 70% from the free throw line. This Houston team has got a lot of problems. I mean, they're getting off to a terrible start. They're 1-7. And the unders for these two teams are just hitting like crazy. They're a combined 3-13. 13-3. The under is cashing for these two teams, and the under is just cashing like crazy all over the NBA. And there's no reason not to take it again in this spot. The total is 217, and I think that flies under the total there between these two teams. Like I said, you've got the 26th ranked offense in the NBA facing the 22nd ranked offense in the NBA, and Denver has one of the absolute best defenses that you'll ever want to see in the NBA right now. So yeah, give me under 217 points here, Rockets and Nuggets. So then moving over to the NHL, and the game that I'm looking at today is Minnesota and Pittsburgh. Minnesota's gotten off to a great start, 6-3, although they are playing a whole lot of close games, I will say. They have not in every single one of their wins that they've had has been really, really close. And Pittsburgh obviously has a lot of injury problems to start the season. Sidney Crosby is still out. He got ticketed for the COVID protocol after his injury. Brian Dumoulin is out. Chad Rudwell is out. This is just a team that is, they had a whole lot of injury problems to begin the season, and now they've had a COVID outbreak on top of it. And of course, Brian Rust, their first line right winger, has been out indefinitely with a lower body injury since the middle of October. So this Penguins team is incredibly shorthanded, and you're getting even money here on the Wild. The Wild have just been absolutely phenomenal at generating shots. 36 shots a game. It is good for tops in the NHL. Their offense has been pretty good. They've been getting about 3 goals a game. I'd say that I make them an above tier team. Pittsburgh's where they're faltering a little bit is on defense. Like I said, Minnesota's been winning a whole lot of close games. Pittsburgh's defense obviously is obviously shorthanded along with the rest of their team. Where Pittsburgh's been really really good, where they're the best in the league, is on the penalty kill unit. They're killing about 91% of their penalties, which is just phenomenal in the NHL. I give the edge here to the Wild, and I'm getting them for even money at plus 104 as the road underdog here. I'm taking them. I mean, Pittsburgh they looked they're coming off a win against the Flyers, but they did not look good in that Flyers game at all. Flyers kind of gave that game away. Minnesota again. They've had a rough stretch at it. They lost to the Seattle Kraken, and then they lost to the Colorado Avalanche, and then they had that really really good overtime win against Ottawa back earlier in the week. Both these teams are well rested, but like I said, I think the shorthanded injuries for the Penguins are going to make the difference here. So give me the Wild on the money line at plus 104. Okay, and then so the other hockey game that I'm looking at today is Boston and Toronto, and we just keep saying, when are the Maple Leafs going to get it right on offense? And they just continue to not be able to do it. They did look good against the Red Wings, and they did look good against the Vegas Golden Knights, but for the most part, we're back to form again against the Lightning on Thursday night. They won it 2-1 in overtime. I don't know what's up with these Maple Leafs. I mean, they have way too much talent to be faltering this badly on offense, but they're sitting at 27th in the league, 2.5 goals per game. We know what the Bruins are. The Bruins are going to play incredibly defensive, tight hockey all game long. And I really like the under in this game, the under 5.5 goals. I think just with Toronto's problems on offense, plus Boston's tendency to play games very, very close and very, very tight, and try to lock things down defensively, I think this is a low-scoring game today. Give me the under 5.5 goals. We are almost home, folks. Just one more thing to take a look at, and that is UFC 268. If you follow me on nothing else, follow me on my UFC picks. I think I've lost maybe one in the past 3 months. And the fight that I'm looking at today is Gian Villante versus Chris Barnett. Chris Barnett, there's no polite way to say this. He's the Reggie Strickland of UFC. This guy is an absolute tomato can. He shouldn't be a UFC fighter. He's just the caliber of his athleticism and the caliber of his fighting. He's a semi-pro at best, and he got brought up to be a tomato can as a late replacement against Ben Rothwell back in May. It's not an official policy of the UFC. It's not written, but I think when they put guys in spots like this where they bring them up to be late replacements, they kind of promise them you're going to get a fight proper later. You're going to get at least one UFC fight, and it's going to be properly promoted, and you're going to have the time to train for it. And it doesn't matter what happens to you in this replacement fight. You're going to get one more fight. And I think that's what's happening today. Obviously, Gian Villante is not a world beater in the UFC. He's gone 7-10. But I mean, yeah, he's 7-10, but that's 7 more wins than Chris Barnett has and probably ever will. If Gian Villante loses this fight, he's never going to get another UFC fight again. So I think he's going to be taking this very, very seriously. I just don't see a whole lot of routes to victory for Chris Barnett, and I also don't see a whole lot of routes for him taking it to decision. This guy is just not on the athletic level as most UFC fighters. If he doesn't get knocked out, he's not a very good grappler either. He doesn't have the athleticism to go the distance. I mean, you can take Gian Villante to win. You're going to give a little bit of chalk on that. It's at minus 135 right now. The much better prop bet is Gian Vellante to win inside the distance. If you take that prop, it's at a plus 240. I don't see how Chris Barnett wins this fight, and I also don't see how Chris Barnett lasts the full 3 rounds. I think this one is going to be over very quickly. If you watched Barnett's fight against Ben Rothwell before he was submitted, he was losing on strikes 72-34, and Rothwell was an over-the-hill 39-year-old fighter. This is not even a contest. I have no idea why the line is even where it is, but take the value here. Get Gian Vellante to win inside the distance at plus 240. That is my final play for the day. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your Saturday. It's daylight savings time. You're going to get an extra hour of sleep tonight. We have a huge day of sports ahead of us. Everyone bet safe, stay safe. Follow us on Twitter at Live One Sports. Check us out on Roku and Fire TV at the Live Ones. Enjoy the day, folks. It's going to be a huge one, and we will see you tomorrow.